I think I introduced myself to most of you, but my name is Ryan Egensberger, and it is an honor and a pleasure to get to present the show to all of you tonight here in beautiful Hot Springs. We had such a great day here in town, just kind of wandering around and getting a little snack over at the Natural Market, and then dunking in some hot sulfur water and getting a little massage and all the kind of stuff you do here in Hot Springs. Is that shocking? That's what you're supposed to do here, right?
Unless you live here, then you just get to be in a routine.
Yeah? That's the saddest thing I've heard all day. Just ruined my day. Never mind. Anyway, we had a great day. So, what a pleasure it is to be here with all of you. As you may know, myself and my friend Rosie Seitz Ayers over there are on a 40-city tour of Montana, and it's been incredibly educational. For example, did you know there are 40 cities in Montana? It's a true story. No, it's been really amazing. We're at actually the very end of it, of our summer tour. Tonight is our last show. We saved the best for last, baby. We've seen amazing things, we've had amazing conversations, and most importantly, we've gotten to hear from all sorts of people all over this beautiful state. And now it's your turn. This is a conversation. I'm going to be doing most of the heavy lifting during the show tonight, but as you've seen with the cards that I've handed out, this show is all about you folks as well. So relax and make yourselves comfortable, and we'll have a good time together. Because we don't have programs to hand out, there's a couple of things, a couple people that I want to acknowledge. First off, this is a beautiful personal story that I unfortunately did not write. It is by a playwright named Duncan Macmillan. So Duncan Macmillan wrote the play Every Brilliant Thing with his friend Johnny Donahoe. They're a couple of British men, so they did say that you should adapt the play to better suit your locality, you know? So instead of tea and biscuits, we have number 577. What's that?
Coffee and donuts.
There we go. For example, instead of Danger Mouse, I talk about Garfield as my favorite cartoon as a kid. We've taken all of the U's out of Flavor and Neighbor. We've taken care of all that stuff for you. So we can just enjoy the show together. But those two guys did write it. Grand Street Theater in Helena is producing this production that's been touring around this summer, so we're thankful for them. Our director is a woman named Erin Orton, also a Helena native. Montana Dakota Utilities, Town Pump, and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Montana are our very generous sponsors who've been putting us up in their hotels and then paying for us to be able to travel around the state this summer. So I love the fact that a bunch of Montanans have chipped in and really made this whole thing possible. And otherwise, if you have a cell phone and you want to turn it off, that would be a good time for that. I'll try to keep things as entertaining as possible so you won't feel like you're missing out on anything in the virtual world. Anything else? Anyone need a practice run? Anyone have stage fright or social anxiety about speaking up in public? We can warm up a little bit, unless we just jump in that late cold here in Montana, yeah? Sound good? All right, let's do it. Again, thank you all so much for being here. It's a pleasure. Rosie, I'm gonna tell them about the list.
Excellent.
Sound good?
Brilliant.
All right, thanks. So the list began after her first visit. It was a list of everything brilliant about the world, everything worth living for. For example, number 1,
Ice cream.
number 2,
Water fighters.
number 3,
Staying up past your bedtime and be allowed to watch TV.
number 4,
The color yellow.
number 5,
Things with stripes.
number 6,
Roller coasters.
number 7, I like that.
People falling over.
So these are all things that as a 7-year-old, I thought were great, if not necessarily things that my mom would agree with. I started the list on the 9th of November, 1987. I had been picked up late from school and taken to the hospital. because that's where my mom was. Now, up until that day, my only experience of death had been that of my dog, Sherlock Bones. And Sherlock Bones was older than me, so he had been a central part of my existence until one day he got really sick and we had to take him to the vet to be put down. And I'm gonna need somebody to play the vet. And you, sir, look like you have a way with animals. So that's not anything untoward. You look like you're comfortable around all sorts of living creatures. Will you come up and help me play the vet? Excellent, you can put those. Actually, hang on to that pen for me. That'll come in handy. And actually, how about this? No, actually, can I borrow that bag from you? Excellent. What's your name, sir?
Jason.
Jason, thank you so much. Everyone give Jason a round of applause for being our first volunteer and having a little courage there. So Jason, as I said, you're gonna play the veterinarian. I'll be playing me as a 7-year-old, and your bag, my dear, is going to be playing Sherlock Bones, as you guessed. So, first off, I recognize you because you're one of the parents from my school. And you say something reassuring to me. You say, you're doing the kind thing, it's not a moment too soon.
You're doing a kind thing, it's not a moment too soon.
And I don't know what the hell that means. I'm 7 years old. I have no concept of mercy or of finality, but you look trustworthy, you have kind eyes, and so I trust you. And now, what's gonna happen? You got that pen on you? All right, you guessed it. Here's the tough part. That pen is going to be the needle. And inside of that needle, there is an anesthetic. It's called pentobarbital, and the dose is large enough that it can make Sherlock Bones unconscious before it depresses his brain, respiratory, and circulatory systems and puts him to sleep forever. So, I'm so sorry, I forgot your name already. Jason! I was gonna say Justin. Jason, when you're ready, why don't you come on over here and give Sherlock Bones an injection right in the thigh. Okay, that's his face. So, his thigh is gonna be back here, Jason. Okay, let's let these folks calm down. You got it? You all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't be nervous. You got nerves of steel, Jason. Let's take a deep breath. Now remember, I'm 7 years old, okay? So, no laughing, no giggling. You gotta make me feel comfortable, okay?
You got this covered. Everything will be fine. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Let me get a pack of merits and a documentary too. It's okay. We're good. All right. But on that day when I was 7, I remember holding Sherlock Bones, whom I'd known my entire life, and watching him die. And I remember thinking about the walk that we'd taken that morning, and the smell of him in my room, and his toys out in the garden, and that newly opened bag of dry food, and his bed under the stairs, and all the other things that we can throw away now. And then I felt him become lighter, or heavier. Still not sure which, but different. And that was my experience of death, right? A loved one becoming an object, and then being taken away forever. Thank you. Jason, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Give me a round of applause. All right. So as I was saying, it's the 9th of November, 1987. It's dark and it's late. All the other kids have been picked up a long time ago. And eventually my dad does pull up. And I'm gonna need a dad. And you seem like you could pull that off. Are you Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you a good one? Is he a good one? All right. What's your name? Gary. Would you mind playing my dad?
Would not mind it.
Beautiful. Thanks, Gary. Come on up here. All right. I'm going to put you in this car right here, the driver's seat, Gary. And now normally it's my mom who comes to pick me up. And normally she's on time. And normally she puts me in the back seat. Because I'm 7 and I have a tendency to make things sticky. But this time, it's Dad. And it's late. And for some reason, he opens the door to the front passenger seat. And Dad looks at me. And I look at him. And you know how when something bad happens, the way you can feel it in your body, before your brain knows what's going on. That's a survival mechanism. The stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, flood your system, and it kind of feels like a trap door has just opened underneath you. Fight or flight, or stand as still as you can. And I stood very still looking at my dad, until eventually I got into the car. Dad had the radio on, and he was smoking, with the window down. It's pretty good. Actually, nothing personal. You're doing a beautiful job, but actually this is going to be easier if I play my dad. You instead get to play me as a 7-year-old, okay? And it's pretty two-dimensional. All you got to do is after every single thing I say, you ask me why, as annoyingly as possible.
Why?
There it is. All right, so fasten your seatbelt,
Why?
because cars can be dangerous.
Why?
Because other drivers don't always pay attention.
Why?
But because there's a lot of things to think about when you're an adult. There's bills to pay, and there's relationships to sustain, and there's work to do, and there's never enough time to do all that.
Why?
Because, well, there's only 24 hours in the day.
Why?
Because that's how long it takes for the Earth to rotate.
Why?
Because, I don't know.
Why?
Because, well, I don't know everything.
Why?
Because that's impossible. Because nobody can know everything. Because listen, if you knew everything, then life would be unlivable. There would be no mystery, no curiosity, no conversation, no wonder, no creativity. Nothing would be new, and you would never need your imagination. And it is your imagination that makes life bearable. Because in order to live in the present, you have to be able to imagine that your future is going to be better than your past.
Why?
Because that's what hope is. And without hope, we couldn't go on.
Why?
Okay, fasten your seatbelts.
Why?
Because we've got to go to the hospital.
Why?
Because that's where your mother is.
Why?
Because she hurt herself.
Why?
Because she's sad.
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
I just don't. Can you put your seatbelt on?
Why?
Because your mother's in the hospital. But she can't see anything worth living for.
Why?
And that's how I liked her having it. But I know that in reality, we didn't say anything to each other. Until Dad said one thing.
Your mother's done something stupid.
And I didn't know what that meant.
Why?
Thank you. Amazing. Give him a round of applause. And when I got to the hospital, my mom saw me and she said, not him. So I went out into the hallway. And I sat down next to a kind old couple. And the woman gave me some gum out of her purse, and the man bought me a soda from the vending machine. And I don't remember, thank you sir, appreciate that much. I don't remember exactly when I had the idea for the list, but I do know that it was there, sitting next to those old people that I started to write things down. Number 1.
Ice cream.
Number 2.
Water fights.
Number 3. Number 4.
The color yellow.
Number 5.
Things with stripes.
Number 6.
The roller coaster.
And number 7.
People falling over.
Number 8. Gum from a purse. Number 9. Soda from a vending machine. Number 10. Kind old people who aren't weird and don't smell unusual. Close enough. And my dad was in with my mom for ages. And then when he finally came out, I had to follow him down the hall. And I followed him out the front door of the hospital. And I followed him into the parking lot. And I followed him into our car. And I followed him up the driveway. And then I followed him through the front door. And I followed him up the stairs. And I followed him down the hall until we got to his study where he shut the door. And I couldn't follow him anymore. But I waited outside the door to see what kind of music came on, because I knew the rules. You see, if there was this one woman singing, then it was fine. I could go into the room.
My hours are slumberless, dearest the shadow.
Now, on the other hand, if it was the type of music that you could sing and dance to, then I could also go into the room, but this time I ran the risk of being hugged or spun around in Dad's chair.
And all his arms he has some down.
Now, if there was nobody at all singing, then that meant that Dad was working, and I just needed to stay quiet. And if it just sounded like somebody had thrown all of the instruments down a flight of stairs, then I definitely needed to leave him alone. So that night, standing outside of the door, I waited to see what came on. And then I went downstairs and I made myself some dinner. Peanut butter and Captain Crunch sandwich. And then I sat down in the TV room and I continued to work on my list. First off, it occurred to me that the list needed to be presented in no particular order. There's no way of saying, for example, that Garfield is objectively better than spaghetti with meatballs. Number 23, Garfield. Number 24, spaghetti with meatballs. Number 25, wearing a cape. Number 26, peeing in the lake and nobody has to know. And I kept writing late into the night and then fell asleep in the living room and my dad must have carried me upstairs. My mom didn't come home for about a week. And during that time, I had to talk to the school counselor, which was actually just Mrs. Patterson, one of the teachers from the middle school. Mrs. Patterson was an incredible woman. She was the kind of woman that you looked at and you just trusted immediately. Ma'am, do you mind being the most trusted Mrs. Patterson? You can actually stay right where you are. You can make a little lane right there. Is that okay? Thank you so much. Now, Mrs. Patterson would do something a little bit unusual, but remember, this was in the 80s, and more importantly, she got results. What she would do is when you came into her office, she would slip off one of her shoes. And then she would take off one of her socks.
Good thing I wore socks.
And then she would take that sock and put it onto her right hand so that she could talk to you with her little sock dog, which had the cutest name. Mrs. Patterson, what did you call that dog again?
Josie?
Josie! Of course, I remember now. And Josie was amazing. Josie would ask you the tough questions, like, how are you feeling today?
So how are you feeling today?
I'm pretty good. How are you? How are you feeling, Josie?
Oh, I'm a little hungry.
Hungry? What do sock dogs eat?
We eat stickers.
Stickers? Oh, I have stickers. I should have brought them. I didn't know.
Oh, not those kind of stickers.
Oh,
The stickers that stick to your socks
the stickers that stick to your socks
when you run through a field.
when you run through a field. That's amazing. Can I make that? Do you mind if I put that on my list?
What list?
Oh, sorry. I'm making a list. It's of 1,000 brilliant things, and I'm going to give it to my mom. And I think that if I get to 1,000, then A, that makes me a genius, and then B, that my mom will be happy.
Is your mom unhappy right now?
I think so.
What makes you think that?
Well, she had to go to the hospital. But let's talk more about stickers. Wait, let me put it on my list before I forget. 164, the stickers that stick to your face, the stickers in your socks on a field of sticks.
Pretty good.
I'll write it down later. And you should go on my list too, Josie. 165, Josie the sock dog. Except what kind of dog are you?
Oh, I'm a very lovable dog.
Yeah. Okay, I had a lovable dog too once. His name was Sherlock Bones.
You said you had your dog once?
What's that?
You said that once you had a dog?
Yeah, he doesn't live with us anymore.
You sad about that?
Well, I put him on my list, so at least I can remember him. Yeah. Josie, I think I heard the recess bell. Do you mind if we stop talking now?
No, that's just fine. I'm glad you came in.
I'm glad I did too. Thanks, Josie. Okay,
Come back again.
I will. Bye. Mrs. Patterson. And my mom eventually came home, and by that point my list was 8 pages long, and it had 314 items on it. So I folded it up, and I put a ribbon on it, and I titled it Every Brilliant Thing, and I left it for her as a gift, right on her pillow. She never mentioned it. But I'm pretty sure she read it, because she corrected the spelling. Now, I kept talking to Mrs. Patterson and Josie first once a week, and then every other week, and then once a month, until one day I left the school. And then I never saw them again. But it's important to me that you don't think that my mother was some kind of monster. Or that my childhood was miserable even, because it wasn't. First off, we had a piano in our kitchen, and we all used to gather around that piano, and Mom would sing soul songs. It wasn't a big kitchen, but it was warm in there, and Mom would play Ray Charles. There was one song, Drown in My Own Tears, that she loved playing. Still to this day, there's a point in that song that sends shivers down my spine. Wait for it. Here it comes. Feel it? You felt it? Right? You get that. Anyway, that part of the song, whenever it would come up, me and my dad and Mom, we would all crowd together around the piano, and we'd just start howling like wolves, and the song wouldn't go on until we'd finished. You! Number 313, having a piano in the kitchen. Number 314, the way Ray Charles sings the word you. And I forgot about the list entirely after that, until her second attempt, just over 10 years later. Dad showed up halfway through chemistry class, and it was the same trapdoor feeling, fight or flight, and the same wordless drive to the hospital, only this time, I hid my feelings less well. I wore my heart on my sleeve. I was a teenager, so the night that my mom came home, we were sitting at the kitchen table, and she happened to mention that if it weren't for the ham and pineapple pizza from the night before lining her stomach, that she would be dead right now. And so I looked at her and I said, you took 3 weeks worth of antidepressants, a half a box of antihistamines, and a bottle of aspirin. You're probably healthier than I am. If you want to kill yourself, next time jump off a bridge. And instead of storming off, I sat there. And I started shoveling food into my mouth because I was pissed that I had spent ages preparing that meal and she was sitting there wishing she was dead while she let it go cold. And there was a moment of absolute deafening silence. And then she started laughing. And her laughter was so genuine that it was hard for me not to join in. And eventually my dad got up and went to his study to go listen to records, but me, I couldn't sleep that night. So I started to clear out my room, and I started packing the things up that I wanted to get rid of, tossing them in garbage bags, keeping the other ones that I wanted in boxes, and then I realized that my hands were shaking. You ever have that? Where you realize that your breathing is deeper and your hands are shaking, and you look around and you're surrounded by garbage bags full of your things, and you realize, oh, I must be really upset. And that was when, in a box underneath my bed, next to some seashells and action figures and sticker albums, found my list. And I started reading it from the very beginning. Number 1,
Ice cream.
and I realized how much better I dealt with this as a kid. I wasn't self-righteous. I was hopeful. I was naive, maybe, but hopeful. So, when I got to the end, I picked up a pen and I continued where that little boy had left off. Number 315, The Smell of Old Books. Number 316, Andre Agassi. It's the 90s. You guys remember that? He was the cool tennis player, shitty haircut. 318, the even-numbered Star Trek films. Check it out. You'll see. 319, Burning Things. 320, Laughing So Hard that milk shoots out of your nose. 321, Making Up After an Argument. And the next morning, I sat down into my mom's bed and I read the list to her, at least until she got up and left the room, at which point I followed her and I read even louder. 516, winning something. 517, knowing somebody well enough that you can get them to check your teeth for broccoli. And for the next few days, I left her answering machine messages, I turned down the radio, I stood in front of the TV. I spent a lot of time talking to my mom's back. 518, bands that have horn sections. 521, the word befuddled. And I decided that for the next few weeks, that list was going to be my sole focus. I started even leaving Post-it notes all over the house. Right on her mirror, 575. Piglets. Right on the kettle, 654. Marlon Brando. Right on her bedpost, number 11, bed. But every morning I would open my door, and there would be a small stack of yellow squares of paper. So I had to get more creative. I started to write on the insides of her shoes. I started leaving messages on the insides of cereal boxes, carving words into fruit, rearranging the fridge magnets. Number 201, hammocks. That was on the inside of a mustard lid. 324, Nina Simone's voice. That was stenciled onto the side of a baguette. And I decided that I was going to make it to 1,000, but I wasn't allowed to cheat, which meant A, to repeat anything, B, every single thing must be genuinely wonderful and life-affirming, and C, not too many material items. But for the next few months, that list was all I focused on. 761, realizing you're not too old to climb trees. 823, skinny dipping. Finally, in the week before I went to college, 992, knowing to jangle your keys at the zoo if you want the otters to come out. 993, eating your dessert as your main course. 994, barbers who listen to what you want. 995, bubble wrap. 996, really good oranges. And it started to bother me. The thought that my mom probably no longer loved my dad. But I put the thought out of my head. And I continued with my list. 997, bicycling downhill. 998, aromatic duck pancakes with hoisin sauce. It's natural for the children of suicides to blame themselves. The most common thing in the world. 999. Sunlight. No matter how much you tell yourself that you're not to blame, you can't help but feel like you failed them. It is not fair to feel this way, but it is natural. Now, the week that I left for college, I mailed that list to my mom, anonymously. And when I got home that Christmas, it was still folded up neatly in its envelope, sitting right on my desk. I still have no idea whether she read it or not, but it definitely didn't seem to change her outlook. So I took the list, and I shoved it in an old book, forgot about it, and that Christmas was hard. Quiet. And then the new year came, and my dad drove me back to college and gave me a box of his records. And I wanted to ask him why, but I knew better than that. So instead, we just drove without talking, listening to the radio. college, I was pretty shy. I didn't socialize a whole lot. I spent most of my time hiding out in my bedroom, listening to those records. And I even avoided lectures, seminars, classes with too many people in them, except that there was one lecture series that I never missed. This was a lecture series given by somebody whose books I had read and I loved, and who had inspired me to take the course in the first place. This woman was a genius, so obviously I'm going to need a genius to play her, if you don't mind. Will you come up here for a second? What's your name here? You told me. Izzy, of course, Isabel. Beautiful. Stand right here in front of your class for me. And this lecture series was on the Victorian novella. It all led up to one book in particular, a book called The Sorrows of Young Werther by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Know any Goethe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a first. Well, here we go. Now, what my genius teacher would do is at the beginning of class, she would hold that book aloft in front of the room, very dramatically, and take a long pause. She would make sure she had everyone's undivided attention with those steely eyes of hers. And then when she was sure she did, she would go ahead and give a very accurate, very articulate description of the book.
Well, young Werther was so in love with the maiden that he couldn't even imagine that she would not love him in return. And you'll have to stay in class to know how it ended.
Will you do me a favor? Will you read the last paragraph on the back there?
First, I'm going to put my sunglasses on.
Please do. I thought you, that's what we're all waiting for.
The last paragraph
Yeah.
on the back.
Yeah, is that okay? This one, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
The book was an immediate success, followed by numerous imitations. It is often criticized for its apparent support of suicide.
Sorry, question.
Yes.
This, Werther's book, this book supports suicide?
This is the first time I've taught this class, you know. It is criticized for its apparent support of suicide. Apparent,
So it might support suicide.
but it might not.
College. Give a round of applause. No, hang on to that. You're great. Beautiful. Anyway, I was so fascinated, as I'm sure you are, by that lecture, that I ran straight to the library and I decided to research the social contagions. Obesity, divorce, suicide. All the things that we are subconsciously affected by when our peers engage in them, right? For example, in the month after Marilyn Monroe's death by overdose, there was a 12% spike in the suicide rates in the United States. Anytime that there is a suicide on the front page, anytime a celebrity or even a character on prime time television takes their own lives, those suicide numbers spike because suicide is contagious. And that's called the Werther effect, after Goethe's protagonist. And finding that out really scared me, and then it made me really angry. Because I thought about the ways that I had seen suicide portrayed in film and television, the ways that I'd heard it reported about in the news. And it turns out that the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, I'm sure you know, some of you know them, they have published a set of guidelines for how the media should be reporting intelligently and responsibly on suicide. And it is astonishing how rarely these get followed. 1, don't provide technical details. 2, never suggest that a method is quick, easy, painless, or certain to result in death. 3, avoid dramatic headlines. Avoid terms like suicide epidemic or hotspot. 4, avoid sensationalist pictures and videos. 5, avoid excessive detail. Don't use the word commit. Don't describe deaths by suicide as successful. Don't publish suicide notes. Don't publish on the front page. Don't ignore the complex realities of suicide. And its impacts on those it leaves behind, include references to support groups, such as NAMI. Don't speculate on the reasons. That's crucial. Don't supply simplistic reasons, such as he had lost his job, or she had recently become bankrupt. Anyway, you'll be glad to know I read the book anyway, The Sorrows of Jan Werther, and it was complete shit. At least I was not very interested in it. But that's probably because I had never been interested in romance. At least I hadn't been until I locked eyes with the only other person who spent as much time in the library as I did. For weeks, we've been sitting right across from each other, barely looking at each other, and then every once in a while, when we would look away immediately, like we looked at the sun by accident, but I finally felt like I understood the lyrics to those old soul songs. And so, after a few weeks, I summoned up the courage to say hello. I'm gonna move. Kind of ruined my thing here. Thanks. That's you taken?
No.
Oh. Awesome. Hey.
We have it.
Thanks. I like it. What's your name?
Rachel?
Your name is Sam.
Sam. My name is Sam.
Oh, nice to meet you. What's that book you're reading? You're reading a book. She's needs to be reading a book. If anyone has. No. Thank you. Amazing. All right. What is that book you're reading?
The Cowboy Surprise.
Is that a cookbook?
No.
What's it about?
A Texas Cowboys Baby Rescue. Texas Cowboys Baby Rescue.
Those words go together?
It's not very good.
No. No, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd like a better one. I'm reading the Cowboy Secret Baby. Yeah. I like it when things go together. Maybe there's a slight chance that you thought you were getting the Cowboy Secret Baby, and you picked the Cowboy Surprise by accident. So, in case that's the case, I think we should probably trade.
Yeah, I just finished it, actually.
Oh.
I'll trade it.
Just now?
Yeah. I'm done with that one.
Quite a lady. Well, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll trade, and since we'll all have all of this Texas baby cowboy knowledge, then it'd be nice to talk about that, don't you think?
Yeah.
Together. To talk about.
About the books, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well,
No. I don't mean we should. No. I don't mean we should go find Texas baby cowboys.
yeah, no, let's.
Just yet. Well, I just want to talk about books sometime. If you want to talk about books, we can talk about books. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Sweet. All right. I'll see you here.
I'll be right here.
I can't wait.
All right.
Holy shit! I had a date. Pretty good. And I felt pretty good about it. And I read this stupid book just so I could talk about it with Sam, and it was terrible. But I met up with her, and then we traded more books, and we kept meeting up, and we kept talking about books, and our books got more and more interesting. Our conversations got more and more interesting, and we spent the next couple of months having really sweet conversations about books. And then, one day, after I'd lent her one of my favorite books, she handed it back to me, and Sam said, "Really interesting read."
Really interesting read.
And then she said, "There's something really interesting in this book
There's something really interesting in this book
that I want you to read."
that I want you to read.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Huh? And I was confused. It was one of my favorite books. I'd read it multiple times, and I'd lent it to her, so I didn't know what she thought I was going to see. And because I'm a moron, I didn't realize that she was talking in code until a week later. I picked up the book, and my list fell out. And I was mortified. Because I had never told anyone about my book. When I was a kid, there were days when I would show up at school with nothing in my lunchbox, or without any socks on or something. And I didn't want anyone to think that it was because my mother was. And so, out of context, this list seemed like a stupid, childish list of nice things. And the idea that that would be able to combat hardwired depression seemed embarrassingly naive. And I was so upset by this that I was about to rip that list right in half when all of a sudden I saw someone else's handwriting on the list. 1,000?
When someone lends you books.
1,001?
When someone actually reads the books you give them.
1,002?
When you learn something about someone that surprises you, but which makes perfect sense.
1,003?
Realizing that for the first time in your life, someone is occupying your every waking thought, making it hard to eat or sleep or concentrate, and that they feel familiar to you even though they're brand new.
1,004?
Finding an opportunity to say this in a way which doesn't involve being in the same room at the same time, as we're both shy and terrified of rejection. And if I don't say something now, it'll never happen.
1,005?
Writing about yourself in the third person.
I have some advice for anyone out there who might be contemplating suicide. It's pretty simple. It's this. Don't do it. Things get better. They might not always get brilliant. They usually get better. Now, what I'm about to tell you might be hard for some of the audience to hear, especially the younger members of the audience, but at this time, there was no way to communicate with anyone after midnight. There was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, there wasn't even email. This world was called 1998. So, when I read Sam's list, all I could do was stare at it for about 3 hours. And then continue where she had left off. 1,006.
Surprises.
1,007.
The fact that sometimes there is a perfect song to match how you're feeling.
And I kept going. 1,008. Dancing in private. 1,009. Dancing in public fearlessly. Anybody? Want some of this? Yeah? Get up here. Yeah, baby. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. We're in the back. All right. I kept going. 1,010. Reading something with which articulates exactly the way you're feeling, even though you were unable to express it yourself. And I decided I was gonna stay up all night writing. You can dance with me as long as you want. That was exactly as long as we wanted. All right, I kept going. Number 1,427. Not worrying about how much money you spend on vacation because all foreign currency looks like Monopoly money anywhere. I kept writing until my hand cramped up and thought of everything I could think of. 1,654. Freddie Mercury. 1,655. All the other guys in Queen. And I kept writing as the night went on. 1,857, planning a declaration of love. And then finally the sun came up and I made it to number 2,000, coffee. And then I kept going. 2001, films that are actually better than the books that they're based on. That's a nerd joke. 2001, anyone? Yeah. 2002, palindromes. Another nerd joke. It was early in the morning. 2003, September by Earth, Wind & Fire. The sheer, sexy, nasty, ridiculous, celebratory euphoria that is this song. 2004, the fact that people have felt joy this profoundly and managed to capture it in sound. 2005, vinyl records. I'm sorry, I'm not being pretentious. The sound quality is actually better. Plus, they're tactile and you can't skip around like you do with CDs or MP3s. You sit your ass down and you listen to that record the way Earth, Wind & Fire wanted you to hear it. My dad's study had vinyl records on every single surface in there. I loved hanging out and reading the gatefold sleeves, and looking at the amazing artwork, reading the acknowledgments, understanding the making of that piece of art. Anyway, the next morning, I grabbed my list and I ran over to the library, and that is when Sam and I kissed for the very first time. You can use your imaginations, sickos. But from that day on, we spent almost every second together, and that kept making new list entries for her as little gifts. 2,389 badgers. 2,390 people who can't sing, but either don't know or don't care. That's right, baby. And I kept going. 4,997 gifts that you actually want, but didn't even have to ask for. 4,998 getting on an airplane and falling asleep as you're taking off, waking up when you land, and feeling like you're a time traveler. 9,993 dreams where you can fly. 9,994 strange cats that are friendly to you. 9,995 falling in love. 9,996 making out. 9,997 being cooked for. 9,998 watching somebody else watch your favorite movie for the first time. 9,999 staying up all night talking. And number 10,000, waking up late next to somebody that you love. 10,000. 10,000! I made it to 10,000! You know what that means? Everybody in this room gets a high five. Right hands up in the air. Rosie, put on the next song. Here we go. You're getting it, baby. Whether you want it or not. High five for the whole room. Take that, hot spring. Here you go. There we go, baby. Yeah! High fives for you, and 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 Rosie, for you, and you. And you, and you. That looks good. And you back here for you, Miss Cameraman. Woo! Oh, doggy high five. Doggy high five, baby. Yeah. And for you. Woo! That's it. We did it. Rosie. You can turn that off. Is that stupid? No. A little bit. Just enough. I'm sorry. I get carried away sometimes. It's something I picked up from my mom. She used to do things like that. Get carried away, you know, ups and downs. And ups and downs. And I remember as a kid, it was never being shy or thoughtful. That was scary to me. It was being happy. I knew that inevitably it was going to be followed by, you know, the feeling this way. It's brand new to me. Studies have shown that children with depressed mothers have heightened reactivity to stress. Those mothers who are withdrawn, they leave their children to fend for themselves more often. And that actually affects their brain chemistry, that fight or flight impulse. The real risk that I had felt my entire life was that someday I would just get as low as my mom had, and I would take the same action, because alongside all of my anger and my incomprehension was an absolute crystal clear understanding of why somebody would no longer want to continue. But I took Sam home to meet my parents, and they were amazing. They were fantastic. They were wonderful. It was miserable. It made me seem like I'd been exaggerating my entire childhood this whole time. My dad made us a lasagna and he put on Cab Calloway records, and then my mom decided that was the night she was going to laugh a lot and tell us a story about breaking some guy's nose on a train going through Egypt. And then after dinner we drank a few bottles of wine. We made our way over to that piano in the kitchen, and we played songs. My mom played first. And just like always, she started, Mr. Ray Charles. Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through. My dad never played the piano, but that night he decided he was going to. So he let her rip. I'd never seen anything like it. He started out with, "That's life, that's what they say. You're riding high in April and shot down in May." And then he went on to, "Now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain," which is a weird song to play. And then he decided, quite spectacularly, that he wanted to play "Wake Me Up Before You Go" by Wham. But he had obviously never heard it before because it sounded nothing like the song. It was something like, "Wake me up before you go, leave me hanging like a yo-yo." And then, Sam played the last song that night. And it was something I hadn't heard before. It was called "Some Things Last a Long Time" by Daniel Johnston. And it just happened to be the happiest, saddest song that I'd ever heard. Your picture is still on my wall, on my wall. The colors are bright, bright as ever. 'Cause some things last a long time. Some things last a long time. And when she was done, nobody moved. I sat at the piano for like a couple minutes. And eventually we said goodnight. But with Sam's encouragement, my list started to grow. all of a sudden, everybody we knew wanted to read it. They wanted to add to it. They wanted to photocopy it. Next thing I knew, it was scrawled all over with different handwriting in different colors. There were asterisks, exclamation points, underlinings, footnotes, amendments. There were drawings. There was an occasional diagram on the list, and everything that was generic or universal, like the smell of bacon or fresh cut grass, and new socks and clean sheets. Those have been added a long time ago, so the list entries started getting way more specific. 253,263.
Feeling of calm, which follows the realization that although you may be in a regrettable situation, there's nothing you can do about it.
There's nothing you can do about it. And they kept getting weirder. 525,924.
Cracked 7 on every great record, like Here Comes the Sun on Mr. Beatles, Mr. and Miss Children.
Boom, you found one. Nice work, Dad. And 777,777.
The prospect of dressing up as a Mexican wrestler.
Now that is just the prospect. Nobody get too excited. You don't have to actually do it, and you probably shouldn't. But anyway, that list got longer and longer, and weirder and sweeter, and more beautiful. And then something amazing happened. Sam and I got married. It was a year after college was over, and she decided to propose to me. It was amazing. It was beautiful. They don't have to use their imaginations for this, right?
No.
Let's show. Come on up. Here we go. Now we were walking in a park near my parents' house, and I was telling her that this was where I used to walk Sherlock Holmes when I was a little kid. And then it started drizzling just a little bit, and I started walking faster, and I thought that she was tying her shoe, because when I turned around, she was down on one knee. And then she grabbed my hands, and then she said,
Will you marry me?
yes, yes, obviously, of course. Let's shake on it. Cool. Give her a round of applause. And so we had a wedding. We did the whole routine. We rented a hall, we hired a band, we got caterers, and everybody showed up. I mean, everybody. For some reason, our old vet was there, which is weird because we hadn't invited him, but hey man, the more the merrier. Do you. And the most amazing thing happened, which was my dad, who hated speaking in public, decided that he wanted to give a toast. And the toast he gave was so poetic, it was so moving. And I said, Dad, you really don't have to if you don't want to. But he said, come on, I really insist. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the father of the groom.
This might be painful, or it might be joyous. I am so tickled that you two are together for the rest of your lives. What a wonderful moment in time. Thank you for having me here and letting me toast the bride and the groom, everybody.
That's amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then after the reception, when almost everybody was gone, Mom played us soul songs on the piano. And then we went on a honeymoon. We made it all the way. Amazingly enough, we actually came here, Tucson, Hot Springs. It's a good spot. It's a good spot. And the sun shone, and all the interesting people came out and said hello, and we laughed, and we had a great time. And we decided that we were ready to start the next chapter of our lives. So we decided to move out to Seattle. When we got there, we were so excited. We got jobs, we got a joint bank account, we got a cat who peed on everything and then ran away. And we started to work a lot and see less of each other. And we kind of fell into a routine. And then we would argue. And we argued about money. We argued about whether to stay in the city or move back to Montana. We argued about whether we should start a family or not. And there was one argument in particular, which was that Sam kept telling me that I should talk to somebody professionally. And that made me furious because I knew what depression was, and I knew that I was fine. I had a study. And I would sit in there and I would listen to my records and I would read the sleeve notes because the lives of other people have always fascinated me. Trials of trauma that go into making great music. Tortured geniuses like Albert Idler, Donny Hathaway, Ronnie Singer, and Weldon Irvine. They're all amazing musicians, and they all took their own lives. And I'm grateful to just be ordinary. But Sam told me that I was starting to wallow and isolate myself. She said I was becoming morose. And she encouraged me to keep working on my list. She said I could make it to 1 million. But honestly, I was having trouble noticing new things. 826,978. $826,978. 826,978. That list was finished. Only 173,022 items short of a million, but it was over. So I packed it up, and I threw it out. And then I sat in my study while Sam packed her things. And I helped her carry boxes out to the car, and I stood in our doorway while she looked at me from her car. You know that horrible feeling? Something's broken and can't ever be fixed? That trap door swinging open again. Fight or flight, or stand as still as you can. I've been feeling that way for a long time. And I watched Sam drive away. She left me a note. It was tucked into an album sleeve. Daniel Johnston. She knew that when I wanted to think of her, that I would look for that song that she played the night at my parents' house. She was right. She also knew that I would sit and read through the sleeve notes, like I always did. And when I found her note, it said she loved me. When I was ready, we should try again. But I didn't find the note for 7 years. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps I was difficult to live with, difficult to love, but I couldn't hear it from her. I had to talk to somebody else. So, the night that I found Sam's note, I did one of the strangest things that I've ever done. Hi, Mrs. Patterson? I'm sorry, I know it's late and I don't mean to interrupt, and I know that you're retired and that it's weird that the school gave me your phone number, but I'm an ex-student of yours. I was the little boy who had that list. Do you remember me? You do?
I remember.
Oh, hi. Do you remember you had a sock dog?
I do.
You do? Josie.
Yeah.
Josie was amazing.
Yeah.
At the risk of sounding stupid, do you think I could talk to Josie tonight?
Yes, I'm sure you could. Josie makes things a little bit easier sometimes. So Josie's right here.
Josie?
Yeah.
Hi! Hi! How are you?
I'm doing well. And I'm glad to talk to you. It's been a long time.
It's been so long. Everything's good?
Everything's good. I'm getting older.
Yeah. No holes, I hope.
No.
Yeah, that's all that matters. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt or be a burden or anything, but I don't feel so great, and I just needed to talk to somebody that I trusted.
I'm here.
Thanks, Josie. I'm just sad. I'm just sad, and I've been that way, I feel like, for as long as I can remember. But I had this thought, which is that when I was little, I remember being happy talking to you, and I couldn't tell if I was making that up or if it was true. Do you think I was happy?
You seemed happy. You had a list
Yeah,
of things that were brilliant.
right.
Things that made you happy.
Yeah, hold on. 164 stickers that stick in your socks?
That was one. There's
Yeah.
a lot of them.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. Yeah. I lost that list. Mostly it's just good to hear your voice. I don't really have any questions, I guess. I just wanted to say hi.
I think you made that list when your mom had been in the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I should try that list again.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How about number one right now?
A new list?
Number one.
I don't know if I can do it right now, but well, phone calls with old friends.
Number two.
Okay, slow down. This time. Thank you, though. I think you're right, and I appreciate you talking to me.
I'm glad you called.
Good night. And eventually, I talked to someone else. A whole lot of someone else's, actually. I went to a support group. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
It's my first time. I've been putting it off for a long time. I didn't realize that you were supposed to talk about things. But I realize now that it's important, especially when it's hard. And I guess the thing is that I feel like as an adult, as somebody who's aware of how many problems and tragedies and disappointments and complexities and all the rest of it there is in the world, like how can you genuinely be happy, being conscious of all that? How can you fully feel joy? And I don't have the answer, but it helps to know that maybe other people feel the same way. I feel like when I was a kid, I could feel happy. I made a list once of everything brilliant about the world, everything worth living for. It was a gift from my mom, and it's sort of a long story, but I'm going to show it to you. Hold on. 1 sec. See, I threw this list out, but unbeknownst to me, my partner at the time, she took it out of the trash and she put it underneath the tablecloth in our garage, and then she left me a note, an Earth, Wind, and Fire record. Singing along to music in the car with your friends. Running to the top of the mountain. Nights when you can see all the stars. Making your own sleeveless shirts. If you can get to the end of a long life without ever once having felt crushingly depressed, you're probably not paying attention. I wasn't around for the last time. I was in Florida with work. And I was on the beach when I got the call. My dad wasn't around either. It was a neighbor who called to complain about the exhaust fumes. The police showed up. They had to cut through the garage door. It was a driver's garden hose through the driver's side window. I found this surprising because my mom hated to drive. Every road trip, all we heard about was her ankles. And for some reason they tell me that that is a masculine way to choose to die. But I don't know what that means. I do know that there was a pad of paper and a pencil on the seat next to her. So she hadn't written anything. I drove my dad to the funeral, and he didn't speak much. He smoked with the window down, and I helped him fix his tie. And after the service was over, that was when I realized how much the list had changed the way that I see the world. Number 31.
Birdsong.
Number 45.
Hugging.
Number 341.
The sound of babies in a quiet church.
Number 577.
Coffee and donuts.
1092.
Conversation.
That list hadn't stopped her. It hadn't saved her. Of course it hadn't. I got a text from Sam.
I heard about your mom. I'm so sorry. Give me a call anytime. I'd love to hear your voice. Love, Sam. P.S. I heard the other day that Beyonce is related to the composer Gustav Mahler. It occurred to me that this is a fact that should be on your list. Truly a brilliant thing.
You have been over there for a long time. Get back over here. Take your seat. Alright. Thank you for your patience. You're a saint. Hang on to that for me. Thanks. And I spent the next few months at my dad's place. We spent our days reading, going for walks, and listening to records. And at night he would fall asleep in his armchair. And I would sit in his study and type up my list. Starting from number 1. And it was a lot of work. It was several weeks of sleepless nights. And when I got to the end, I decided to keep going. 826,979.
The fact that Beyonce is Gustav Mahler's H cousin 4 times removed.
And I completed my list. And I left a copy in Dad's armchair and drove back to Seattle. And he never mentioned it directly. But a few weeks later we spoke, and he did say thank you.
Thanks.
And then he said, I love you.
I really do love you.
And I said, you're getting better at the sentimental stuff.
Once in a while.
999,997? The alphabet. 999,998.
Inappropriate songs played at emotional moments.
999,999.
A completed list.
$1 million. Listening to a record for the first time. Turning it over. Putting it on the deck. Putting that needle down. Hearing that faint hiss, crackle, while the sharp metal point sits in the wax. And then sitting back and listening. While you read the sleeve notes.
Your picture is still on my wall.
That's our play, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. That was our play. Wow. What an honor to be here with you. A couple of things. One is, please take a moment if you need to use a restroom, grab a drink of water, stretch your legs, take a deep breath. I totally understand that was a play. And then in just a moment, we're going to come back and Rachel is going to come up and we'll have a conversation about things that are relevant to this community. Anything that came up in the play that anyone has questions or comments about. If you want to know more about Rosie and my tour or about the play itself, those questions are totally welcome. If you have questions about mental health resources here in Hot Springs and in the area, those are way more important. But wherever the conversation wants to go, we'll take it there. And we don't have to spend too long on that, but we'd love to chat with you guys for a while. Two other things that are really fun. One is that every night, well, we'll see what happens, but every night so far this summer, at that part of the play where the trunk gets opened, those are actual brilliant things that were contributed by audiences all over the state of Montana. And we would love to know what you think the sweet, wonderful, delicious things in life are. So please take a post-it note and add it to our list. You can go ahead and bring those up here. The other thing is, as part of our grant, Blue Cross Blue Shield is just curious about who we are actually reaching with this play. So if you don't mind taking just a moment to do this little survey about who you are. It's totally anonymous, and you don't even need to use a pen. It's a little rip survey. So if you had heard of Grand Street Theater in Helena before this production, you make a little tear into that box. If you are female, you make a little tear into that box. And those are totally anonymous, just to see who we are actually reaching with this production. So we'll pass those things out, and then please hang out with us, and we'll have a little conversation, and then feel pretty good, I think. And then we'll feel pretty good. That's my plan, at least. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Oh yeah. I can handle it, yeah.
Oh yeah, feel free to look through the trunk.